Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Canelo Alvarez is nothing like Jarrell Miller. You know, a lot of people have been coming at me on social media saying these ridiculous things, saying that Jarrell Miller, who's an absolute drug cheat, is the same as Canelo Alvarez, and they're both drug cheats. And somehow Canelo's name always gets sucked into these things. So we're here to debunk fact from fiction like we always do, but we're going to use straight facts. We're going to use the evidence, and let's break it down. And we start with Jarrell Miller. And, you know, Mike Coppinger stated that, he failed another PED test for his upcoming fight with Jerry Forrest. Who needs a PED for a guy in a comeback fight? So you need a PED for a tune-up? That makes absolutely zero sense. Jarrell Miller is garbage truck juice. And this is the same thing Jarrell Miller did last year when he was set to face Anthony Joshua, and for an opportunity to become unified heavyweight champion. And this guy, took 3 different PEDs. Look, at the end of the day, Jarrell Miller is the same guy that shot up the whole CVS pharmacy into his veins. And, this guy is taking PEDs at an alarming rate. He has no regard for the sport or the fighters or the safety or anything, or even his safety. The guy is absolute garbage truck juice. So to even compare him to the face of boxing like Canelo Alvarez makes no sense. There's different fighters who failed drug tests before, but none have ever done anything like Jarrell Miller is doing. This guy is literally making history taking PEDs in the way that he's taking them. Now, on the other hand, with Canelo Alvarez, this guy was exonerated by his PED supposed usage in his failed drug test due to a hair follicle test. Now, let's be honest. Everybody screamed that Canelo Alvarez needed to take a hair follicle test to prove that he was innocent. He takes the test, he proves he's innocent, and people still scream and yell that Canelo Alvarez is a dirty, drugged up fighter. So, and a lot of evidence that, people keep coming to me and say, well, check out this article. And it's an article stating that they're debunking the misinformation around Canelo's clenbuterol positives by SB Nation. And they state that hair follicle tests are unreliable. That's why they're not really used in clenbuterol testing. And that is absolutely correct. I don't deny any part of that because, put it like this. If you take a hair follicle test and you want to know the amount of clenbuterol that's in someone's system, it's always going to vary, because if your hair color is light or dark, it's going to vary. It is not reliable for that purpose. But we already know the amount of clenbuterol that was in Canelo Alvarez's system. So what we're testing in the hair follicle test is not for the amount that's in his system, but rather the historical usage that's in his system. And and this is a direct tweet from Victor Conte, who's an expert on this, and he states, fact for boxing, a blood or urine test will not detect the use of clenbuterol for 3 previous months. A hair test can detect clenbuterol usage with intent to cheat for as far back as 3 months and even longer. Hair testing is far superior to blood and urine for detecting historical drug use. See, we're not looking for the amount because we already have that with the urine test. We're looking for the historical usage, and that's why we're using a hair follicle test. Hair follicle is unreliable for what? Simply the amount of clenbuterol. We're not worrying about the amount. We're worrying about the historical usage at this point, because if he's a drug cheat, if he's a doper and all of these things, then we need to see how long he's been taking it. So in this particular case, the hair test is suggested not to measure the amount of clenbuterol, but to determine if it was used for a prolonged period of time or just in one-time incident. So this proved that it was likely a one-time incident. He was not using clenbuterol for a prolonged period of time, so which simply means that it was likely by ingestion of contaminated meat. And, we got to be honest and unbiased. And look, and we also see that he's also been exonerated, not just by the hair follicle test, but let's keep it going. The WBC, they're going to use higher standards to test for clenbuterol after 5 Mexican drug tests fails. See, we see the industry change because innocent fighters are being blamed for failed drug tests when they have not failed the test simply due to tainted meat. And if you don't believe me on that, okay, well, Mexico also blames tainted meat after soccer players failed the doping test. Okay. Who else? The NFL even states that they warn their own players to watch and not eat meat in Mexico after it caused a failed test for one of their players. So the NFL Mexico, and the WBC are all in agreement. So are they all lying? See, these are where fanboys don't like the facts. Even Olympic athlete Will Clay was cleared by USADA because of a positive drug test came from contaminated meat in Mexico. We got to be honest and unbiased. People might not want to accept that Canelo Alvarez is not a dirty fighter, that he's a clean fighter. People may not want to accept it. They may not want to believe that. Those are fanboys because they're ignoring the facts. At the end of the day, we stated facts from fiction, and based on the facts alone, Canelo Alvarez was cleared by sanctioning bodies. He was cleared by the WBC. He was cleared by the WBA. He was cleared by WADA. And at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez, if we're being honest about it, the guy did not show any historical usage for taking clenbuterol, which means he would receive no benefits if he took it at one time and not over a period of time. Simply put, it was contaminated meat, and only a fanboy would deny a fact. But once again, unbiased as always, it's the IBFP.